Reiju into Zoro here. This is another round from my locals gameplay here. And we're going to go ahead and start first here. I think Zoro elected to go second to take me off second. And I'm saying, that's fine. I'll end up working it out here. And we just put a Porsche on the bottom. That is so sad. Would have loved to see that Porsche on this next turn here, as that would allow me to potentially do a little bit of shenanigans. Though I'm missing kind of the key pieces, the key of the suited up and non-suited up combos in the Reiju deck here. Did start up with the stage on 1, which is pretty great. I'm just reading the Korea, as I think this is my first time or second time playing against Zoro here. So kind of interested in what to expect, and I know Zoro can go pretty quickly and can flood the board pretty hard. So I'm just going to continue to try to find pieces to the puzzle here. We found one piece to the puzzle, that is a Niji. Niji is a potential way for me to clean up some of these smaller bodies, as these smaller bodies could potentially become a threat later in the game. Zoro is all about just swinging 5Ks, 6Ks with a bunch of bodies, and that can be pretty stressing on the hand here. And I also know that deck potentially runs Kid and Killer, so I do have to be pretty cognizant of staying up at a potentially high life total here. And we're gonna go ahead and just play out the little Niji. We're gonna go ahead and activate. Big Niji's gonna come out, and we're gonna go ahead and pop the Kureha here and then draw a card. Found a baby Reiju, so now we just gotta find the big Reiju, right? It could be one in my life, who knows. But this matchup's pretty interesting. So typically I play Reiju very aggressively. I try to swing face a bunch while also like somewhat controlling the board if I need to. But in this specific matchup, I'm actually playing from more the defensive side, as my opponent does start to flood the board pretty quickly, playing that the chopper from OP04 that puts into play an animal, I think, with power 3000 or less. Opponent's gonna go ahead and attack me here. That is a search event here. I am potentially thinking about triggering here, because it does trigger draw me a card, but I think right now it would be very useful for me to find some of my combo pieces. We end up finding another baby Reiju here, and I think what we're gonna end up doing is just searching, trying to find a Reiju. We're gonna pitch the big Ichiji here, and then look at the top 3. We end up finding another big Ichiji, so traded one for another one. That's the second Porsche we're putting on the bottom. I think we're pretty much accepting that we're not going to see any Porsches this game, which is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and look at the top 5, search for something nice. Probably looking for either a baby Reiju or a suited up Reiju or a baby Ichiji, but I ended up not finding either here. We're just going to grab another baby Reiju. At the end of the day, it is a 5K, and I think at this point I've seen enough of my Ichijis, and again, that's uncountered. That's not counter in hand, so you do have to play this matchup a little smarter, because you do need to be aware that you're just going to potentially be pushed out a bunch of counter out of hand from these plays here. My opponent is going to... I'm going to play out a 20-20 chopper. 20-20 chopper does say equal or less than Dawn, so since we are both at 4 Dawn, I do get to ramp up to 5 Dawn here. And we're going to go ahead and swing 6K at lead. Just try to pressure a little bit. Opponent's just going to go ahead and show me a counter here, going up to 3K, up to 8K in lead. And we're going to go 6K again. Opponent's going to go ahead and take that. I do have to play this weird game where I both whittle him down, both resource-wise, while also just trying to deal with the board to ensure that I stay alive here. Typically, Reiju has a lot more cards in hand at this point, and very unfortunate that I haven't found the pieces I need. I mean, ultimately, this is a combo deck. Sometimes, luckily, we have a lot of enablers. We've got the 1-cost stage, which is one of the best ones, as well as some surge events to allow us to find what we need, as well as just drawing raw cards off of Reiju's ability. But we haven't necessarily seen what we need yet, but we still have time. But soon enough, we're not going to have time here, as this is a 7K swing. No, that was a 7K swing at Niji here, and then a 6K swing at Niji. He's just kind of, opponents maybe playing a little bit of the control game. Opponent's going to play out a chopper blocker and then pass to me. That's where those extra cards in my hand, those extra Reijus, are going to come in handy here, as if my opponent tries to threaten a specific amount, like matching power, I can potentially get out of that. We're going to look top 3. We find the Niji. All right, that's a good start. We've got a little bit of our combo here. We also have a Porsche to put that into play. That Porsche is going to be able to find me, hopefully, a chopper blocker or a 2K. I do have Foxy 2Ks in the deck, as well as chopper blockers and then Porsches. So I have some potential search targets here, as I need to continue to keep filling up my hand here to ensure that I have the counter I need to be able to keep dealing with my opponent's threats. I think I'm going to go 6K here into the 4K chopper. just as I need to kind of keep the board a little bit whittled down. It's as every character Zoro plays out is something that's going to be threatening me at some point. Not typically going to be used to clean up my board here. I'm going to go ahead and look at the top 5. We're going to see 2 4-cost Reijus go to the bottom of my deck here. I'm going to go put those on the top of the stack and then put those on the bottom of my deck. That's very unfortunate to see. It basically tells you I'm likely not going to see any this turn here. Am I going to remember to draw? Yes. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I've in the past forgotten to draw off of -1 Dawn on Reiju. I'm new to the deck. I touched this deck for like a little bit back in 06 when it first came out, and then I just got pummeled. The deck has a lot more consistency potentially than it did before, and yeah, so here we are again. So, you know, just learning the intricacies here. I'm going to just -2k on the chopper here, and then now we've got a 7k threat that we can send out here, and we're going to go ahead and swing at lead here. Nice little 8k attack here. I think we're just going to likely go 8k at this point, just to try to whittle Zoro down to some degree while also trying to stay alive. Opponent doesn't have anything tapped for me to deal with at this point, and Reiju is not a very proactive deck. The only card that we have to kind of do nonsense and kind of deal with the board a little bit is through swinging in with Ichiji, as Ichiji does -2000 power, while also using Niji, right? So Niji does KO 2 cost or less, which is what the blue Power Ranger is what I'll call them. Though they're like evil Power Rangers basically, or they can bounce a 4 cost or less, which is a potential blocker to go for lethal plays. But when it comes to removal and interaction in this deck, there's not really a ton other than board control through attacking with your characters. So opponent going up to, I think this is 8 Dawn here, 1 Dawn on lead, 7 Dawn, gonna go 2 Dawn on lead, potentially threatening a 7k attack. Opponent does have to start thinking about my board, as my board is getting pretty big at this point. So opponent's actually just going to go face. That leads me to believe that likely they have picked up a Kid Killer, because that Kid Killer is going to be able to easily threaten 7k. There is a Kid Killer. Right, that Kid Killer could get 2 Dawn on it and start threatening my board here. He's going to go ahead and swing 7k into, or no, 8k in, and we're going to go ahead and counter that out of it. 2k, 1k, and then opponent's going to go ahead and swing, I think that is a 6k at lead here. And then I'm going to go ahead and block it. I really don't want to go further down because I know this deck does potentially run Diable Jambe, which does get around blockers. So my blockers are going to end up being useless at some point anyways. So we want to ensure that we kind of keep ourselves as healthy as possible, as we still haven't found the different combo pieces that we need here. And we're going to go ahead and activate. We're going to pitch the Reiju here, putting a lot of strength, or a lot of confidence in the Porsche here. We ended up finding the 4-cost Ichiji. I think we have another one in our yard. I think we ended up seeing 2 of them at this point. And then I realized that I didn't even grab my Dawn for the turn. So we should be up to 7 Dawn. We did in the last turns at 5 Dawn. We're going to go ahead and play out the Porsche here. I think that does mean that I have the 7-cost Ichiji in my yard somewhere, probably towards the bottom, as it was one of the first cards I activated. We're going to grab out the Chopper here. Chopper is going to likely be a play I play out this turn, as having free blockers, having nice blockers is pretty nice. We're going to put the Ichiji into play. We're going to remember to draw off Reiju, picking up another Chopper blocker. I am in blocker heaven right now, which is pretty great to see against this specific matchup. So here I think we're just going to activate Ichiji, and I think we're just going to try to clear board a little bit, try to commit a little bit of resources. Yep, it was the bottom card of my deck. We're going to do -2000 power to the Kid Killer, as Kid Killer is going to be a prime target for me to take out. I'm going to go ahead and send 5k into a 3k here, basically asking my opponent if he wants to commit 2 cards from hand, a 2k and a 1k to get out of the attack. If he decides to do that, then I'll just send another 5k, as I do have plentiful 5k swings. We're going to go ahead and send 5k at the duck here. Opponent's going to go ahead and respect that, as well, as that would be a plus 2k, a 3k difference here to get out of the attack, which is a lot of cards for me. And then now we're going to go ahead and just start punching face. We're going to go 7k face. Opponent's going to show me a 2k, 1k, get out of it. We're going to go 7k again. Likely what we're going to do is go 7, 7, 8 to try to set my opponent down to 0. We're going to go 7 again. See if we can threaten my opponent to potentially give me some more cards from hand. And my opponent's going to take it. My opponent thought it was a trigger. Unfortunately, it was not. We're going to go ahead and send, instead, just play a little safe here. Yes, I am in a very commanding position against Zoro, but hey, still got to play safe every once in a while. So we're going to play out the Chopper blocker here. In hindsight, it probably, I think the only thing I was, potentially worried about was, double Kid and Killer, right? Double Kid and Killer with Zoro on 10 Dawn would basically allow for you to go, 788, and I only have 3 1Ks in my end, which is pretty scary. So I didn't want to be in a very unfortunate situation. So having that chopper blocker out was more of a safety net. Yes, I could have pushed 8K lead, but that's the pacifist inside of me, or the more defensive play style inside of me to just play a blocker when I could have just pushed my opponent down to 0 here. My opponent's basically that blocker, if anything, kind of seals the deal for my opponent. As if they tried to threaten my board, I'm just gonna block, right? So if they go too heavy into if they don't match one of my attackers here, so he's gonna go ahead and go 7 into Porsche here. I'm just gonna, I think this is the kind of hit just to take, because that would eliminate my whole hand, or give up chopper blocker. And I think I care about my chopper blocker and say, look at that. That is a Kitten Killer coming in. Kitten Killer is gonna swing 8K into my Niji here, and then tapping 3 Dawn. Not a Kitten Killer, but that is a Shiraya here. Me actually letting that Niji go before the blocker came out was actually like, well, number one, I could have gave up the chopper to have an extra attack, but now I have the Niji to put the Shura back into the hand here. So opponent's basically not going to have any blockers here. I'm going to immediately tap 3 Dawn, and I did end up finding the Reiju, right? So we're going to just activate stage here before we do anything else. Going to grab out just another Niji here. And since that Niji's in the yard, I can go ahead and just like basically pull it back out, which is pretty great. And so that Niji's going to come into play and going to allow me to almost slap the camera, almost grab a card off the deck when I meant to grab it out of my yard here. And then we're just going to go ahead and bounce that and then draw off of Reiju. Seeing we've got 3 attackers and a lot to work with. We're going to go 8K lead here. Opponent's just going to activate the Shut Up and Come With Me, I believe, which is a 1-cost event. Lets them look for, I think what I was reading here was, does the card come in rested? And it does not. So opponent is able to find a blocker here, which is pretty nice off the rip. But I'm still like in a pretty commanding position. With the blocker on board, I might end up deciding to not try to go for face here, because I do only have 1 attacker left. I think what we're going to do, okay, we'll send 8K lead. So I think the plan is just to go double 8K. If anything, my opponent gives me his whole hand. If not, I still have a blocker on board. So my opponent's just going to show me 2K, 1K, and a Kitten Killer. So my opponent did end up having both Kitten Killers, right? So I did play very safe to try to play around that. So, you know, I guess I'm somewhat vindicated. But ultimately, that's the game there. Pretty solid showing against Zoro here. Zoro, pretty aggressive deck. But with that in mind, if you enjoyed this type of content, definitely subscribe and leave a like to let me know that you like One Piece gameplay. And with that in mind, have a good day.